Thank you, Yasha. Do you hear me all? I don't have such nice slides as my colleague. So sorry for that. Because when we talked to organize this conversation with you, we thought about having a more sort of interview type of dialogue. And I love that Yasha presented such a good introduction to understand what is political economy, why political and why economy, and why both of these realms are intertwined with social classes, with civil society, with different methodologies, different theoretical approaches. So this gives me a good hand to start to think about critical political economy. And one thing that you have to pay attention to is the two issues in our book title. One is critical political economy, and the other one is public policies. And these two issues are together in our book and in our way of analyzing and thinking about the world problems of today. So critical political economy, we have to go back to the very first one who did a critique of political economy, which is Karl Marx in the 19th century. Either we like it or not, we think it's still useful or not, we think it's still relevant or not. Marx was the first one to really go through and cuss all the other approaches that came before him, and the liberal one and the nationalist one. And Marx was the one to point to the issue of social classes and how political economy is really made of and by different social classes, and how capitalism is being moved and being transformed by the tensions and struggles among social classes. And Marx was also the one to do a very important methodological critique of the previous researchers, of the previous approaches. So Marx brought the issue of class and how political economy is made out of class and class struggles, and how inequality was one of the main issues to overcome for a new society. And built on that, we had after him a whole range of critical perspectives and also important theoretical approaches that built upon Marx. One of them is Gramsci in the beginning of the 20th century, but another one, which we would also include in the critical political economy, that we would maybe label it more as a heterodox political economy, is the Keynesian approach and the post-Keynesian one. So we deal with class, but also with gender, with race, and how political economy is really crossed by all these categories of social forces in struggle of building a new society, a more equal society. And we can also talk about the inequality issue as a common idea for overcoming and for building something new across the critical political economy approach. So it's very important that we have this clear as a theoretical basis in order to think about public policies. And I would just shortly here read one part of our introduction that really summarizes these ideas. We say here, our selection of chapters in this handbook sides with the critical tradition among these three stances of political economy. This is not to deny critical scrutiny of research designs, theoretical elaborations, and findings of other traditions. But as elaborated previously, their focus concentrates on increasing wealth and competitiveness of nation states, or and enhancing the allocative effective of markets. And although topics addressed by a number of more recent writings of these two strands also include environmental concerns, the question of how to overcome structures of economic inequality and power asymmetries beyond mere remedial actions against forms of poverty does not figure in their agenda. Our preference for the critical tradition is not based on normative grounds alone. Its openness to other social sciences and sensitivity towards societal inequalities without neglecting either interstate rivalry or individual agencies, promises a more holistic approach and therefore more convincing insights into political economy. And one thing that I want to address is the sensitivity to the social context of social groups, of individuals, of social forces, that is so important to think about public policies. So this is what I want to go now, to say that these kinds of critical thinking in political economy will inform how we evaluate, how we approach, how we deal and elaborate social policies in different contexts. So the practical issue of how to apply critical political economy was one of our concerns here in the handbook. And when we think about the political economy from a critical perspective, from a race, gender, and class perspective, we have to think about the question, for what and for whom are social policies formulated? What are the different impacts in different classes, in different social groups of public policies that are thought of being universal policies? What are the different impacts of social policies in global South and global North when you think about universal policies that could be implemented for everyone? This is a major issue when we analyze, let's say, the consequences of the structural adjustment programs of international financial institutions, when you analyze common agreements, for instance, in the OECD on taxation, when we analyze all the implementation of the Washington Consensus in the 1990s, what are the different impacts of these public policies at the international level, and of course others in the national levels, when it comes to class, gender, race, and other differentiations within society. So this sensitivity towards the social context is very important when it comes from a critical political economy perspective. So to wrap up, I think that we were successful, and I hope that you like the book in terms of bringing this myriad of different theoretical approaches, different methodological approaches. And this is also important, that critical political economy is not a repetition of saying there is only one methodology that is relevant, only one methodology that is right, but to really have a plurality of methodologies and approaches that can cover these different aspects. And the handbook also was very, I think, successful in bringing in people from different parts of the world, of course, different genders, different topics, but to bring in the global South and the perspectives of Africa and Latin America to the discussion of these different policies. So I think that my part is it, and Christophe will present the different chapters and the structure of the book.